Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
It's pretty much common knowledge at this point that WWE has one of the most talented rosters in the history of ever. However, even with 7 hours of programming per week, WWE seemingly can't find time to fit all their wrestlers on shows. One of those names is Andrade, who hasn't been seen on WWE TV since October last year. Reports surfaced during his absence that there may have been plans pitched for a Charlotte Flair and Andrade power couple, but those seemingly never came to fruition. Now it seems that Andrade has reached his breaking point, as it was reported last night by Wrestling Inc. that he has asked for his release from WWE at this week's Raw episode. A report from PW Insider noted that he looked absolutely miserable at Tropicana Field during the show, but that could just be because he was forced to watch the show backstage. Badum-tush, topical humor. Fightful then added that people within WWE said that Andrade asking to leave had been expected for quite some time, but a later report from Dave Meltzer confirmed that Andrade's request had been denied by WWE. Many fans have been shocked to see someone with Andrade's talent sit on the sidelines for so long, but Fightful has seemingly suggested that other wrestlers were less surprised, with the site reporting that the writing was on the wall for Andrade when Paul Heyman was removed from his position as Raw Executive Director last year, with the fact that he went undrafted in the 2020 draft in October being deemed as a major turning point. Remember when Andrade was the best thing in NXT? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Stay tuned to WrestleTalk.com for any further developments in this story. Speaking of wasted talent, despite being Raw Women's Champion for a good period of 2020 and the entirety of 2021, the last several months haven't been too kind to Asuka. And this has been compounded as it has emerged that she may be forced to miss WrestleMania 37. Following an errant kick to the face from Shayna Baszler on Raw a few weeks ago that saw her lose a tooth, Dave Meltzer is reporting that Asuka is dealing with a concussion. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer said that Asuka's WrestleMania plans are in jeopardy, noting that while she could be cleared soon, there is a chance that she's not granted permission to return by WrestleMania, meaning her planned title match with Charlotte Flair will be off. This will not only be bad news for Asuka, but also for Charlotte Flair, whose original Mania plans were changed when Lacey Evans found out she was pregnant last month. Meanwhile, in AEW, despite what many seemed a dud finish, see what I did there? The pay-per-view buy numbers are in for their Revolution show, with Dave Meltzer noting that it brought in the largest pay-per-view number of any non-WWE show in the United States since 1999. The show is projected to have brought in over $7 million in revenue for AEW. And now it's time for a review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being awesome Pledgehammers on Patreon. He's a sexy man, not an Andrew Gross man, and the mayor of Painesville, Dan. For the second week in a row, SmackDown didn't start with Roman Reigns. They're learning, guys. Instead, it was his WrestleMania opponent, Edge, who cut a rebuttal promo to Daniel Bryan's one from last week, listing off the names he's faced in the past and showing some nice fire. For some reason, Edge still disagrees with how Bryan got himself a Universal title shot and says he went into business for himself. Edge, do you remember, like, all of the things you've done in your career? This brought out Bryan, who rightly pointed out, "You're the ultimate opportunist, Edge. What are you talking about?" Edge ended the segment by saying he thought Bryan was better than this, but he's not better than him. That's a really good line, which would make a lot more sense if Bryan actually went into business for himself. They want tension between Bryan and Edge, and it just feels very manufactured to me. They tried to give it a solid reason here, but the reason doesn't make sense. And speaking of things not making sense, after that was an 8-man tag match of the Street Profits and the Mysterios versus Rude and Ziggler and Gable and Otis. Now, you may notice there that Dolph Ziggler and Otis are on the same team. Do you think they reference their months-long feud that culminated in a singles match at WrestleMania 36 that had the most story built out of any match that WrestleMania? Did they I don't know about you, but I love it when WWE insults our intelligence. But let's put all that to one side for now, because this match was really fun. It started hot and it did not stop the entire time, with loads of cool spots, really good pacing, and an exciting finish, culminating in Montez Ford hitting a huge frog splash to pin Rude. Right. There was so much Reginald on this show, and I'm gonna throw it all in here because I can only talk about so much Reginald before my blood pressure gets too high. It started off with a recap of the whole Reginald thing from last week, being fired by Carmella, being slapped by Banks, and Nia Jax flirting with him. But they took that last part just a little further this week, and when I say just a little further, I mean a lot further. Some may say too far. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler took Reginald on a shopping spree. I'm just gonna let that hang for a second, and then I'm gonna say it again. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler took Reginald on a shopping spree. Shayna decided to embody every single viewer of SmackDown at this point and was incredibly bored and on her phone the whole time. I believe that's what the kids are calling a mood. The segment itself goes on for way too long, with Reginald trying on different suits and then flipping around in the changing room corridor. You know, like all shopping sprees. After he finds the right one, he sits in Jax's lap, I'm not making this up, and then says, "How can I ever repay you?" Me. Reginald is Jax's sugar baby now. If there's positives to be taken out of this, and there aren't really, it's that he's no longer involved in the SmackDown Women's title picture, right? Right? So the KO show was later on with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. They cut basically the same promo since the Royal Rumble, which, lest we forget, was over a month ago. I'm the boss. No, I'm the EST. I can win at WrestleMania, and I will win at Fastlane because I am good. God almighty, how have they made this feud boring? And that's not even mentioning Kevin Owens, who was just here for this segment. But enough of that, because here comes Jax, Baszler, and Reginald to provide commentary in the tag team match of Banks and Belair versus Natalya and Tamina. Hey, Natalya and Tamina have matching gear now. That's cool. You know what's not cool? Everything else about this match. At various points during this match, Reginald would just get up on the commentary table and show off his new suit. Sasha eventually got distracted by him, which led to Bianca getting distracted, which led to Tamina rolling up Bianca and winning. Tamina pinned the winner of the 2021 Royal Rumble. Again, I'm just gonna let that hang. Tamina pinned the #1 contender to the SmackDown Women's Championship, Royal Rumble winner, and challenger for the women's tag titles a week on Sunday. Hey WWE, what the f are you doing? Belair blamed Banks for the loss, saying she's the one who got distracted from Reginald and she's warned about him in the past. And then backstage they had the exact same promo where Banks blamed Belair and Belair blamed Banks and then Banks called her a rookie. And then, later on, Nia Jax and Reginald are backstage and Reginald tells her that she should challenge Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship next week on SmackDown so that she can be a double champion going into WrestleMania. Jax then just says, "Oh, that's a good idea," and then they just announce it. Nia Jax going for the SmackDown Women's Championship on SmackDown before Fastlane. What the f is going on? Why is she able to do that? Will Bianca be as upset as Edge is that someone is getting the title shot before they're owed because they won the Rumble? I really don't like Reginald, guys. Let me clarify, I have nothing against the person who plays Reginald. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but Jesus Christ, everything involving him on this show was an absolute nightmare. I'm genuinely flabbergasted, and I don't use that word lightly, or really ever. But I am stunned at how poorly the booking of the entire women's division on SmackDown has been lately. Banks versus Belair at WrestleMania is an open goal, and they've somehow missed. How? Right, let's talk about something else. I'm sure there was some other stuff on the show that actually made sense, right? So Cesaro and Murphy had a rematch. Why? Cesaro won in 2 minutes last week. Why is there another one? Look, I love both of these guys, but nonsensical rematches don't just get a pass because the match could be good. Y'all ever heard of diminishing returns? Rollins was watching the match from the ramp and caused the DQ on Cesaro after he started swinging Murphy and hit him with a couple of stomps for good measure, which I liked. Backstage, Rollins ran into Shinsuke Nakamura and wordlessly walked away, so that'll most likely be a match next week before the Fastlane match of Rollins versus Cesaro. Or what I'd really like is the Fastlane match of Rollins versus Nakamura, setting up the WrestleMania match of Rollins vs Cesaro. Big E returned on this SmackDown as well, and it was really good. I loved his fiery, intense, angry promo, saying it's not enough to pin Apollo anymore, he's going to have to end him. He calls him out, but after he doesn't show up, he instead offers up an open challenge which is answered by Sami Zayn, who just manages to get in before King Corbin. The match itself was fun, with Big E winning after getting fired up. After the bell, Apollo's music hits and Big E has a smile across his face, but Apollo attacks from behind and lays out Big E with the steps once more. I'm really into this feud, and I'm excited for their match at Fastlane. I think it could genuinely steal the show. And after some backstage promos in the night between Jey Uso and Paul Heyman and Uso and Edge, it was time for the contract signing between Bryan and Reigns for Fastlane. Reigns tried to back out of signing it, but Bryan goaded him into it with one absolute money line. Last week, I did something you never could. I made Jey Uso quit, which angered Reigns to the point of signing the contract and making the match official. Jey got fired up though, saying the match needed a special enforcer. Edge came out and said that's a great idea, and next week it'll be Edge versus Jey Uso. Winner gets to be the special enforcer at Fastlane. A brawl ensued with both Edge and Bryan trying to get to Reigns. Edge threw Bryan out of the way, and Bryan laid out Edge with a running knee, standing tall to end the show. I feel like this should really be Edge versus Reigns versus Bryan at WrestleMania at this point. Bryan feels like a very natural fit for the match, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought in the comments and by voting in our poll on a poll match on our community tab, where 73% of you voted that it should be Edge versus Bryan versus Reigns at WrestleMania. I didn't really like this show. So much of it was dominated by Reginald, and you guys know how I feel about Reginald. Bianca Belair should not be getting pinned, random rematches shouldn't be a thing, and storyline continuity shouldn't be ignored when it's convenient. The in-ring work was pretty decent, but I don't think that was enough to save it this week. I'm gonna give this show a high 2 out of 5, SmackDowner. But hey, you know what might lift your spirits? Today is the Play-Along Fan Quizlemania, hosted by Adam and Andy, where you get to compete in your favorite Quizlemania rounds. Check out Parts Fun Known's Patreon page for all the details, link in the description, as the quiz is open to all $10 and above backers and takes place at 8 PM UK time tonight, 3 PM EST. And Quizlemania fact checker Tempest and myself will be reviewing SmackDown live today, so press the video to the right to watch that now. And WWE and AEW are getting into a trademark battle. Press the video below that to find out the details. Subscribe here for daily wrestling news videos, and special thanks to WrestleTalk's Patreon backers who are scrolling below me. I've been Corporate Chopper. Jam that jam.